Hiya. I just want to have a quick conversation about civility and why it won't work. So if you're anything like me and you spend a medically inadvisable amount of time online, then you've become caught up in this question of how we ought to treat our elected opponents, at least here in the United States. I don't know if that same conversation is happening in Europe or in the Balkans or in Africa, but I know it's happening here because I'm seeing it happening here. You're seeing people, elected officials and sometimes unelected officials, chased out of restaurants, chased out of stores, chased out of I think Mitch McConnell was chased out of a fair, which is great! To tip my hand a bit, but the question is how we ought to treat elected officials, right? That's ultimately what the civility thing boils down to. And you've got two camps. The one camp, the camp that the president is on, says that, you know, you ought to treat things as business as usual. If you have complaints, you vet them through the appropriate sources. There are people. They have people to address complaints. You don't need to address your senators. The other camp is saying that interfering with the day-to-day life of people who are elected officials works. And it has seemed to have worked. The Secretary of the EPA, I think it was, resigned, at least in part, because of heavy scrutiny and relentless, his words, not mine, relentless attacks on social media. Because apparently an elected official can't stand a couple of attacks on social media. The decision about the kiddie concentration camps, was reversed because of just enormous public backlash, enormous public outcry. So not being civil has worked. Addressing these people, getting all up in their grills, so to speak, has worked to either stress people into leaving their offices or reverse decisions that people don't like. But the question is, does civility work in the same way? Like, that's the real question that we should be asking ourselves. And the answer is, no! No! What universe are you living in? You're funny. Part of the appeal that Trump had for the people who are his hardline supporters, not all of his supporters, not even necessarily most of his supporters, but the people who believe in Trump as a brand and as a force for good in the world, because those people inexplicably exist, part of the appeal that Trump had to those people is that he bucks convention. He doesn't care about the status quo. He doesn't care about how things are supposed to be. He doesn't care about conventional wisdom. He doesn't care about by the book. If you go out and talk to these people, you'll find that out. I know I have. The few people I know who are still willing to stand by Trump, given all of the really kind of fascist stuff that he's done since being elected, will say that specifically, that he isn't a conventional leader, and that's what appeals to them. And it follows from that why would he be at all affected by convention? Right? Like, that makes sense? You can't do things as normal with a president who doesn't care about what is normal. Like, that's just, like, phase one of that argument. The things that are happening currently, okay, I'm not going to say that they're not normal. One can make an argument that what is happening now is not normal, but I'm not going to make that argument because it'll offend some people on the far left, where I happen to have landed on the political spectrum somehow. I blame the milk. Point being, even if this is ostensibly normal, we, the people in the United States, the people in the world even, we get to decide what is and isn't normal. And if we decide that, putting toddlers in concentration camps for crossing the border isn't normal and isn't acceptable, then that's a decision we have the power to make. And really, I feel that that's a more important aspect of things. Trump doesn't, strictly speaking, have the power to act unilaterally. I mean, I'm sure that if he wanted to, he could grab the power to act unilaterally, but I don't want to give him any ideas, Trump works for the people, at least ostensibly. And those people are us. People like me, people like my landlords upstairs, people like all this people in the city of Springfield. And that's true of any elected official. And if those people... It's not a question of whether or not they'll do the things that they are beholden to do. It's a matter of when they will do it. I know that right now we have a problem where corporate interests are controlling seemingly everything. Corporate interests in the form of news media and the fucking Russian oligarchs got Trump elected, for example. And it seems like we're in a time where corporations are controlling every aspect of our lives. But we fight back against that by being uncivil, by demanding and not asking, by getting right up into people's faces and telling them, this will not stand, this will not stand, you're a half a step away from something you don't want to get into. Back the fuck off. That's how things change. And it's not good that things need to change in that way. It's not pretty, it's not nice, but it's necessary, I think. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say on the matter. So, go out, find your nearest elected official, and shout in their faces, for the love of fuck's sake! And take care of yourselves.